Juche 111. Who made this? Every time a survey on unification education or unification is conducted, it is easy to find that students have a strong negative attitude toward unification. This is the voice resounding from the 2022 Peace Unification Education Policy Proposal Presentation, in which 110 educational organizations for peace and reunification participated in South Korea recently. According to the 2022 Education Policy Proposal for Peace and Unification, in the 2021 Unification Consensus Survey conducted by the Institute for Unification and Peace of Seoul National University, necessity for unification accounted for 44.6% of very much and slightly necessary, which was 44.6%. It is said that it has fallen to the lowest level since then, and on the contrary, the proportion of respondents who answered that unification is not very much or not necessary at all is said to continue to increase. Even with this in mind, we can understand the level of awareness of the young South Koreans on the issue of unification. For our people who have lived in the Han River Valley with one culture and one language, inheriting the ancestral ties for thousands of years, national reunification is a historical task that must be resolved. Whether he is in the North or in the South, national reunification is the greatest justice, truth, and historical inevitability for our people. To question it itself is a problem that cannot be allowed or established. Moreover, for young people who long for justice and truth and do not know how to compromise with injustice, engaging in the struggle for national reunification, which is the greatest patriotism, is the most valuable life. In the history of our nation's movement for national reunification, the traces left by the youth are clearly visible. Numerous young people in South Korea sang the slogan, "Let's go north, come south, let's meet," in opposition to the division of the nation, and took the lead in the struggle for unification. The noble devotion and sacrifice of famous and unknown sons and daughters who generally gave their youth, love, and lives to end national division as quickly as possible are clearly etched in the history of national reunification of our nation. However, the fact that the awareness of national reunification among the young people of South Korea is getting weaker today is a serious problem. Who really made the youth of South Korea like this? The cause is not elsewhere. This is because the anti-reunification forces in South Korea have inspired a sense of hostility and confrontation toward their fellow countrymen, to the youth who are in the stage of worldview formation, and to the youth who will shape the future of the nation. If you look at the Conservative Party of Ri Myung-bak and Park Geun-hye alone, those who have manipulated the unification education textbooks that glorify their anti-reunification confrontation policy and anti-national policy and encourage confrontation with their fellow countrymen, and have taken the lead in the unification movement, are religious organizations, and forcibly instilled a sense of confrontation among the youth of South Korea by collecting human waste, such as the North Korean Human Rights Students Solidarity and North Korean Human Rights Defector Youth Alliance, and by mobilizing the conservative media and other media outlets, they have been conducting vicious propaganda every day to inspire the new generation with a sense of hostility toward their fellow countrymen. The vicious anti-DPRK countermeasures and vicious propaganda by the anti-reunification forces in South Korea led to a diminished sense of kinship among the growing new generation, and views and perceptions about the necessity of national reunification disappeared. Even today, the anti-reunification forces in South Korea are promoting peace and unification in front of them and clinging to war exercises and military reinforcement against their fellow countrymen from the back, encouraging the new generation to feel hostility toward their own people in positive and negative ways. It is an unacceptable anti-national crime that made South Korean youths who inherited the blood of the Korean people not feel the urgency of national reunification. The reunification of the country is the nation's greatest historical task, and the future protagonists who will live in a unified strongland are none other than the new generation. It is a proper duty and a national duty to embark on the path for unification of all Koreans who have buried their wombs in this land and any young people who are full of blood and enthusiasm. Since ancient times, it has been said that if children do not play a role, the family will perish, and if the youth do not play a role, the country will perish. At the forefront of the struggle for the realization of national reunification and ending the pain of division that has continued for many years, young people must fulfill their sacred mission in the face of the times and history. That is the only path to true patriotism and the path to living worthy of youth.